Okay, picture this. A screen that literally rolls up like a yoga mat. Sounds like something ripped right out of a sci-fi movie, right? Well, we've all seen the dazzling commercials and the flashy prototypes, but in this explainer, we're cutting through all that marketing hype. We are diving into the gritty, absolutely brilliant engineering realities making these shape-shifting screens possible. And, maybe more importantly, we're looking at the massive technical roadblocks that are still keeping them out of our hands. So, grab a seat, get comfortable, and let's get right into it. 9 millimeters. That is less than 0.4 inches. Seriously, look at a standard pencil. That is roughly how thin we're talking. That jaw-dropping number is the exact thickness of LG's W6 wallpaper TV. When LG dropped this, it was a total reality check for just how far display tech had come. I mean, we went from those massive, back-breaking CRT boxes that took up half your living room to a screen so incredibly thin it essentially just mounts flush against your wall. Literally like wallpaper. It was a huge leap in making screens just blend seamlessly into our lives. And honestly, that leap set the stage for something even crazier. T3 magazine hit the nail on the head when they called it unapologetic AV futurism. Those exact words perfectly capture the sheer awe of the LG Signature OLED TV R, specifically the 65R9 model. Guys, this isn't just a thin TV. This is a screen that unspools and rises up from a base unit with the push of a button, and then completely retracts out of sight when you're done with it. It's pure poetry in motion. But yeah, that futurism comes with a massive catch. We're talking a price tag estimated anywhere from $15,000 to $50,000. Ouch. But you know, that crazy price tag perfectly illustrates why this tech is such a game changer. It is all about ultimate versatility. The LG Rollable doesn't just sit there doing one thing. It physically changes its form factor to match exactly what you need in that moment. Want to binge a movie? Boom, you've got full view. Just need a sleek dashboard for the time, weather, or your Spotify playlist. It drops down into line view. And then there's zero view, where the screen hides completely and the base just becomes a high-end standalone Bluetooth speaker. So your TV isn't just a giant black rectangle dominating the room anymore, it's a dynamic piece of furniture. Now, as much as this feels like a sudden, overnight revolution, it really wasn't. It's so easy to think flexible screens just popped out of a lab yesterday, but their origins actually trace all the way back to the early 1990s. We are talking decades of rigorous, tedious research into polymer liquid crystals and OLEDs. Just look at the timeline. Samsung developed their first flexible prototype way back in 2005. That led to the early Galaxy Fold concepts around 2010, and finally LG Display's market release in 2018. So what we're seeing today is the payoff of relentless, long-term scientific dedication. To really appreciate how they pulled this off, we have to look under the hood and break down the science. On the left side, you've got your traditional LCD screen. It is super bulky, right? That's because it needs all these rigid layers stacked up. A backlight, a filter plate, the actual LCD display, and then a thick piece of protective glass. Now look at the right side. This is an ordinary OLED, organic light-emitting diode. Its absolute superpower is that the pixels are self-illuminating. They make their own light. That means you can completely ditch that heavy, bulky backlight group. The result? A screen that is inherently thinner and way simpler. But here is where the real magic happens. Based on research from Semantic Scholar, getting a screen to be super thin is one thing, but getting it to bend without breaking, that's a whole different beast. The true aha moment for engineers was taking that simplified OLED structure and entirely swapping out the rigid hard glass protection board for a flexible plastic substrate. By bonding the touchscreen system directly onto this bendy plastic, they created a display that can actually be rolled, folded, or twisted without snapping right in half. So, why does this matter to you? Well, it's not just about cool party tricks. It is all about durability. I mean, we've all been there. That heart-stopping moment when your phone slips out of your hand and goes face first into the concrete. Because these flexible screens use flexible plastic instead of brittle glass, that plastic acts like a physical buffer. It literally absorbs the shock. This makes flexible screens incredibly fall-resistant compared to your standard glass phones. It's basically the ultimate drop test champion, solving one of the most stressful problems in modern tech. And the applications here go way, way beyond just our phones or living rooms. Let's look at the modern office. Lenovo's vision for the future shows how flexible and rollable screen tech is completely reimagining the very shape of our devices. What you're looking at is how a single, highly portable device can unfold from a simple tablet into a full multitasking laptop and then expand even further into this massive, dynamic, multi-screen canvas. Imagine carrying a sprawling desktop-level monitor setup right inside your briefcase. It's wild. And this tech couldn't be arriving at a better time, because workplace design is changing fast. Those dreary, rigid cubicles and massive, clunky computer towers humming under your desk? Yeah, those are history. Today's mobile office is all about cutting the cord. We're talking high-speed Wi-Fi, seamless video conferencing, built-in charging stations, and smart desks that actually adapt to the worker, rather than forcing the worker to adapt to them. This kind of collaborative, flexible technology is absolutely becoming the new foundation for how we get things done. Now, if you're sitting there wondering, is this just a passing fad? Lenovo's internal research says absolutely not. Look at this massive stat, 83%. 83% of IT decision makers believe hybrid working models are here to stay for the long haul. This isn't just some leftover trend from the pandemic. When people are constantly bouncing between a home office, a local coffee shop, and corporate HQ, portable, flexible screens stop being a luxury. They become an absolute necessity if you want to actually stay productive on the move. Which naturally brings us to the million-dollar question. If flexible screens are so amazing, so durable, and so obviously the future, why aren't they everywhere yet? Why aren't you and I typing on rollable laptops right now? Well, it's time for our innovation reality check. We need to look past those perfect concept renders and talk about the severe, very real engineering bottlenecks that are completely throttling mass adoption right now. The harsh reality, which that semantic scholar research points out, is that physics is a really stubborn opponent. Flexible screens have some undeniable, glaring vulnerabilities. First off, there is a limited bending radius. You can't just fold it completely flat and crease it like a piece of paper, or you'll literally crush the electron clusters inside. Then you've got wear and tear. Folding or rolling a screen thousands of times inevitably creates a crease, a line you can actually see and feel. And finally, because this tech is so incredibly cutting edge, if it breaks, the maintenance costs are just astronomically high. But honestly, the biggest headache might be the internal components. It's kind of the ultimate engineering irony. Yes, the display panel itself is super flexible. You can roll the screen into a tube all day long. But the battery, the motherboard, the processors, yeah, those stubbornly remain completely rigid, solid bricks. You literally cannot fold a lithium-ion battery in half. Because of that, designers are forced to build these clunky, stiff chassis just to house the guts of the device, which severely limits how small or bendy the overall product can actually get. To really wrap your head around how complicated this gets, let's do a quick virtual teardown of an unreleased LG rollable phone prototype. Just look at the insane mechanical steps needed simply to expand the screen. Step 1, you've got dual internal motors driving these tiny, complex tracks. Step 2, a literal mechanical zipper tooth system has to physically lock the screen frame into place. Step 3, this crazy lattice of spring-loaded arms deploys just to keep the OLED panel flat once it's unrolled. And Step 4, an internal tray actually has to slide the motherboard and battery over to make room. It is this highly complex, crazy expensive, fragile mechanical ballet. One single piece of dust gets in those gears and the whole thing is toast. Trying to mass produce something this complex is an engineer's worst nightmare. And that perfectly explains a massive split we are seeing in the market right now. Foldables versus rollables. Take Samsung's strategy, for example. On the left, you have their foldables, like the incredibly successful Galaxy Z Fold. These rely on hinges. Hinges are a mature, fully understood supply chain with way fewer active moving parts. They're simply easier to build and sell to consumers. But on the right, you've got rollables, like Samsung's 22.9 mobile slidable concept. Because they require all those fragile motors and sliding trays we just talked about, they are incredibly expensive to make and are pretty much firmly stuck in the R&D prototype phase for now. But hey, don't lose hope, because the future is looking incredibly bright. Engineers are grinding away on the next giant leaps to smash through these exact physical constraints. We're talking about the development of highly efficient electroluminescent materials that can handle way more extreme bending. We're seeing a massive push towards true wireless freedom, using tech like Miracast to completely ditch the cumbersome cables on these flexible monitors. And they are even integrating advanced ambient sensors that automatically adjust the screen based on who is in the room and what the lighting is like. The ultimate goal here is to create a device that feels way less like a clunky machine and more like a seamless, natural extension of your environment. Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating thought. We are rapidly sprinting toward a world where the rigid, heavy rectangles we shove in our pockets or bolt to our walls are going to be completely obsolete. When your screen can be shape-shifting, totally wearable,